And kind of the other way would be like you need to then have like some sort of, the only way to do this automatically would be to have some sort of reflection system which can pull data out of objects and put them into the page, kind of like how Angular and other systems do that. But those systems are slow, and that's a problem. Or even the simple things here, like, there's the English representation of like what wind should be. And you're like, oh, well, it's just the name of the variable. Well, it's not, because ball touch slide doesn't mean enough to people. It's like ball slides or all this other shit. It's stupid. Win streak and loss streak. Nice. Alright, so win-loss needs to go up to the top. Accuracy probably also needs to go up to the top. Score needs to go up to the top. Matches played is important. Wall hits and all that stuff. Own goals, assist. Alright, so I think that's all of our stats. So let's make sure we didn't screw some up. Looks alright. Alright, it looks like all our stats are there, but of course the problem is we're displaying online and offline as the same things. So let's go change that. So there we go. I've got my score, win score, accuracy. Again, accuracy needs to be a percent. So that's the other reason why all this stuff is split apart, because an automatic system, you'd have to have like, well, this is a percent, so we have to do this other stuff. Alright, where's our win-loss? Win-loss ratio needs to be up here too. Win score is not really important. We'll put that down there. If I did this in Blueprint, I probably wouldn't. It would be one of those things where you'd be like, yep, nobody cares. Not going to do it. Okay, so those are my all-time stats. That's what it's doing. Now what I need to do is I need to do the fetches. When I click like seasonal, it needs to go fetch it for that specific thing. Okay. So when we click all time, We're going to set up our interval time buttons. Alright, so we'll do load intervals for seconds. What we need to do is we need to select the current interval and load it. We need to load we already have the interval stuff. We also have the current interval already selected. We need to load those stats. So I think it's this load stats here is all I really need to do. So when our stat intervals are updated, we will then load our stats. So we need to call this .load stats. So load stats should not be called up here. It should just be load intervals, which does stat intervals updated, which selects everything for us, calls load stats. Load stats will do our stats stuff and actually load up our information for our stats. When we click these guys, it'll kick off another load stats call, and it's going to select the current interval inside of these interval buttons. So right now we should not be able to page through dates, but we should be able to see our stats for different times. So seasonal, monthly, weekly, daily. So what we now want to do is shift our time around based on these guys. So we click on these guys, we'll select the current one. Otherwise, we need to load the intervals for the time. So if we go to weekly, and if we go to daily and we click on this guy, it should take that time, load that time, and that's our current date. And it calls load intervals with that time, and that's what we're going to use. So previous interval clicked. All right. Selected interval. Guess we'll need all of them. So let's go ahead and set them. So what we need to do is call our load with a time. Alright, so we're going to get the previous selected interval. I guess it's going to be start time. And I mean, I guess we can just add like just a number off of that. What is the start time in? Seconds. Alright, so we're not even using this selected time anywhere, but we will be using it now. Alright. So if we just set it to the start time of the previous selection, it'll then kick off loading the intervals, which will then kick off loading the stats. If we set it equal to that time, it might have some issues, so why don't we just say +1 second, just so we don't have some sort of stupidity going on. On the cur thing now, basically we're I guess we'll reload the stats, and that seems okay to me. So we'll basically just do this load intervals. So this might actually all just work. Let's just throw it in Chrome real quick. Alright. So all time, if we click this, it should reload. Seasonal, update 5, monthly, just March, weekly. Nothing in the weekly stats. So we load these. It's because I clicked on some other stuff. So we have weekly stats. So we have daily stats. But it loaded like the beginning day, so it's like March 28th. So if we go to March 28th, we can do that, and then we can go through kind of like that. I mean, that is pretty cool. Like it's working there. The problem is we click on this date, and it's going to take us back to March 25th, and there is no current day for that. So the question would be, when you click on daily stats, where should it jump to? Because like we go here with March, and this would literally be like, March 1st, and you have to click over. Which I don't necessarily find bad. Like if we clicked it in here and like there is no data for that day, like we could try to snag the first one. I'm not sure. What would it? Just like there was nothing on that day. I mean, we could put in a placeholder of just no data. I mean, you say it should jump to current, but like if you go to a week, right, and you go like back to this specific week, and then you went to daily, you might expect it to just be like March 25th and just have zeros for you. And just be like, yeah, there's nothing there. So like a jump to current button would be good, but I can definitely see you're looking at your all-time stats or whatever. And so you're like, all right, well, let's go back like a month. So you go back to March, and then you'd kind of want to start from the beginning there. Otherwise, if like you click like weekly and then it jumps all the way forward to today, you can't really go through it really easily. So it'd be like monthly, it'd be like, all right, cool, March, and then it would have these 3 weeks, and like you'd click forward to a week, and be like, well, what was my daily stats during that week, right? So we'd want like a jump to current date thing, as well as basically these things should fill out placeholders for intervals that don't exist, is what it seems like. All right, we need to fix the all-time one though, at least. I need this is on all these things. Alright, this is this. Alright. Okay, so this should make it so the all-time stuff doesn't get screwed. So if I go click over here, all-time is still all-time. Yeah, and it'll select the correct week. So like you could go back in time here, and then when you switch over to the week tab, it would actually have the week. So yeah, I like that. So what exactly do I need to do? I need to have, if we don't find your interval, we need to make a placeholder interval with nothing in it. So when we call load stats, we're going to call load stats for interval. Which is going to go load the stats, and so that's fine. The issue is when we switch to another thing and the interval is null, we need to add a placeholder interval for our current day. And that's about it. So it's where is it? Okay, it's going to be right here. So if this is selected interval is null, then we need to make a new interval for it and put it in there. So let's think. All right, so interval context. It's just going to be this guy. And then we just need the start time and the end time. So I think that's just going to be our selected time. And basically what we're going to do is the end time needs to be something logical. So I guess we have to switch off of this guy again to get a logical end time to it. Alright, so we'll set the end time to that guy. So if we actually have a next, we'll set our thing there. So for monthly, though, okay, it's okay, so it's going to be interval dot end time equals this interval dot start time plus this value, and basically we're going to say if the next selected interval does not equal null, then we're going to it's just math.min. I guess I can just do it like that. All right, so it's got March 25th and then March 28th, and you can jump up to there. And then we can't go back any farther because there's nothing else over there. And when we try to load stats for interval, if the ID is blank, then we're just going to do nothing. So all right, so if this selected interval then what we want to do is we've got our stats. So we want to make So we'll just do it like this instead of actually calling the back end. So that should set everything to zeros. Let's see if that works. Script error 0. So we got March 1st, we got nothing. And we can just keep going forward to the stats that we do have. So you can go to a week, then you can look in that week, and if there are stats for that week, there will be stats for you during that week. Otherwise, for month, it'll go click on March, and then it's at March 1st, seasonal. Yeah, unknown season. So you can go to update 5, and we'll see our update 5 stats. All right, so what we probably want is a jump to current button here. So where would that be? Where would we put it? Because if we're up here clicking on stuff, I mean, we could have it if you like double click on something, it'll take you to that specific, you know, if you like double click it, it'd take you to the first one. I'm trying to think. Like I already explained that, I think, where if you select like March and then you go to your daily ones, it's going to start on March 1st. So as opposed to the current day, because you may have gone back to, you know, like season 5 and then gone to months, and you know, they're like, oh, I'll go back to February, and then if you went over to daily, it would be in February still. So you could go look through that as opposed to like, oh, I want to look at my daily stats from 2 months ago. All right, cool. You know, click on daily and then click back like 2 million fucking times, right? So, you know, when you first load it up, it's right then. So everything's already, you know, pre-programmed in with exactly today, all that shit. So I should have it when you click on all time that it actually gives you the right now time. So all time, setup, selected name, load stats. We actually want to reset the time right here. So I'll reset it. Let's make sure that works. So it goes back to how in the fuck is March 31st right there? Alright, load stats is not the right thing. Oh, okay, I see. I screwed that up. So on seasonal clicked shouldn't do anything. It's on current clicked. Alright, so it's basically if the yeah, okay, so we got it's all time, then we want to set our current time to there. Otherwise, we'll do this. So we want this to be this guy. So that should load everything up properly. So if I go to this week and I go back here, click all time, got an error in my JavaScript. So weekly, March 25th, all time, March 28th. Oh, come on, what the fuck? That is not true at all. Oh, it's this selected time. Yeah, that's wrong. Lots of little stupid errors going on right now. Alright, these are stats. Weekly, 25, click, and 31st. Excellent. That's exactly what we want to see. Alright, so when you click on update 5, it takes us to update 5. Weekly takes us to there. March takes us to March 1st. Alright, so what we want to do is we want like a current button. Whatever it makes sense, because current could be backwards or forwards. Like if we jumped to a week and it's, no, it can never be in the future. You know, the current time is the current time. You can't jump farther into the fucking future. This isn't Australia. So it's always going to be on the right. So I mean, I could have like a jump to button over here. Just jump to current. So we go weekly, jump over here, and jump to now. It'll be just over there. I like that. You could also have it so if you tapped it again, like if you double clicked it, then it would take it over there. Would that be intuitive enough? Like if you clicked weekly and you double clicked it, it would go back over there. I kind of like that just because it's faster, but I don't know if people would understand it. So I think that's what I'm going to try to do is let me just see how it plays out. How am I going to handle time zones for switching? Well, all the times are in the backend server time, which is in UTC, I'm pretty sure. At least it should be. So everything's just dealt with timestamps. So for some people, the day will end at a certain day. And so time zones have absolutely nothing to do with the leaderboards and when they roll over. So, I'm not really going to worry about it too much. All right, so when would this be? All right, so if the selected time is less than, that's not an issue, or is it? So if we double click this, it should jump to the current time, current interval. So we'd want to see if, okay, so if this, let's get the current thing here. Alright, so if this selected interval equals null, basically we want to know when we should return. So if it does not equal null, we want to know if the current interval covers this time. So if this current interval start time is less than or equal to our new time, and let's see, if the end time is equal to 0, then that's okay. Or with the selected interval is, okay, maybe I should do this a little bit differently. So if the end time is equal to 0, we'll return. Otherwise, if it's greater than or equal to. Okay, so we'll just try load the current time. Alright, that double click actually I think works pretty well. Because we click on this guy, it's going to pop up March 25th with a 0. You click it again, and it takes you right there. So I could have another jump button over there as well. It's worth just throwing it in there and seeing what it looks like. Just a little jump button. Nah, fuck it. Let's just leave it. Leave it as it is. You know, I think people get it pretty easily. And a lot of these, you know, we're not seeing stuff because there's just nothing there. And pretty much what you want otherwise would be like big ass graphs of your performance over time. Well, we're at a point here where this all works, and starting to make stupid mistakes. It's probably time to go take a break, chill out, and get back to working on this stuff tomorrow. Because we've got it so stat history works, and we can pull in information. We've got all of our time zones and all that cool shit. That's not bad. So tomorrow I'll be hooking up the leaderboards then. And then once the leaderboards are hooked up, I'll need to do the things where we actually click into the specific users. And even on top of that, I'm going to need a few things like a username cache and some of that sort of stuff, which will have even more information that's necessary. Let me see what I've got on my list. Yeah, this seems like a pretty good stopping point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reconcile everything, get it all checked in, and then push out my server changes to the test environment. Alright, so this is going to be work in progress on user stats and stat history. Stats and stat history now functional for your current user and all history. Alright, so let's kick off our builds. So it's going to be our Java server. And I'll babysit that guy and then deploy him to test, and then we will test on the test environment and make sure our stats are getting tracked and everything like that works. So much stuff though. So today was Saturday for me. It's now Sunday, of course. So those were the history pages, but I need the leaderboard pages. So I should be able to start working on that tomorrow. And I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to have to change a whole bunch of UI, since that's actually working out pretty decently right now. Alright, so we got that guy running. Let me go ahead and SSH to the test box just so I can look at the logs. Alright, so we built the Java server. Let's go ahead and deploy that. So it's uploading right now. Thank you for following, Zivik. Your questions are helpful. It's always good to have input from people. And we'll see. One of the big things I think is once we actually get these stats out here, people are going to have all sorts of opinions. So we'll see. Also, Adam's going to have some opinions on it. So I don't want to do too much crazy town. I just want to get version 1 out there before I lose my head. Alright, so that's out there. So wait for this guy to start running. And yeah, it was definitely a good time to stop. My brain just crashed into a wall. Alright, so we are running against the test environment, correct? Yes. Let's boot it up, log in, and take a look at our stats. We should have all the intervals for all those different days set there. So as a result, yeah, if we check out our user intervals, we've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4 days. Wait a minute, we've got 2 months. Oh man, it just became April, that's right. We've got 2 months now in the database. What do you know? The systems are working. How insane is that? You try not to be annoying? Nah. If I was gonna be annoyed by people, I wouldn't be streaming on Twitch. That's just one of those things. You're just asking for